Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I apologize for the few minutes in delay. We had a meeting prior to this one. All righty. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJ SA 10-4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, Asbury Park Press, Board Office, the schools, Cablevision, Channel 118, Verizon Vios, Channel 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for today, Tuesday, October 21, 2014. The Board will take formal action on agenda items. Mr. Mara?
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided that that act of recording does not interfere with the business of the public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered the private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Thank you, Mr. Mara. Roll call.
Borsili?
Here.
DePrima?
Here.
Dunn? Hopman?
Here.
Mongan?
Here.
Singh?
Here.
Silikowski?
Here.
Weber?
Here.
Andriani?
Here.
A quorum exists.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn has a work obligation in Yonkers, so he will try and be here, but he will be running late. So I apologize on his behalf. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At every meeting, we have someone read the Code of Ethics. We did not decide last time. Is there somebody who would volunteer to read that this evening? Ms. Mongan, thank you.
Every board member will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief School Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Ms. Mongan. Before we get into the regular portion of the agenda, you will see a variety of decorations up on the tables up here. Maybe you can and maybe you cannot recognize any of them. I believe that one's supposed to be Mr. Cittadino, which is over there in that corner. One of the cosmetology groups, I believe it's the junior class, was looking to do something that was a little Halloween related, and the teacher said absolutely, as long as we can figure out a way to connect it to the curriculum. So since part of the cosmetology has to do with facial features and the best makeup and whatever for a person's appearance, they decided to have a little contest/charity event. So all of these pumpkins are someone associated with the school. I'm sure that Ms. Fazio is up here, was one of our VPs. I'm sure that Mr. Sasso is up here someplace, one of our VPs. Being pointed over there is supposed to be Mr. Sasso. I think the crown is Ms. Fazio over here in front of Mr. Mara. What they will do is now have a contest. Staff members will be able to vote not on the one they like best, but the one that resembles the person the most. And then that money will be given to a charity that Mr. Sasso, who is the principal of Old Bridge High School, designates. I did say that I would try and go for some extra donations. So I have an empty bucket up here. If anybody's interested, we could have a nice little donation before you leave, if anybody's so inclined. All right, with that, I need approval. I need Mr. Mara.
Okay, there's an administrative change tonight. To the members of the public, there's one administrative correction affecting one motion on the published agenda. That change is in the schedule, in the schedule that's in the rear of the studio, available for your review. Board members, please turn to page 20 on your agenda, because this correction has not been reflected there. Is everybody there? Item number, under resolution number 4, item N is modified under the paid column to reflect November 1st, 2014 to November 18th, 2014. And board members, anything that's in yellow on your agenda was not discussed at the draft agenda meeting and therefore is new. Thank you, Mrs. Andriani.
You're welcome, Mr. Mara. With that, I need I need someone to move approval of the minutes. I see people touching their glasses, but nobody's saying yes, they will
I'll make a
approve the
motion.
minutes.
Okay.
Mr.
I'll move it.
Basili will move, and Mr. DePrima will
Yes.
second. Thank you very much. Roll call, Mr. Mara?
Borsili?
Yes.
DePrima?
Yes.
Hopman?
Yes.
Mongan?
Yes.
Singh?
Yes.
Silikowski?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Andriani?
Yes.
Resolution 1 passes.
Thank you. Recognition? Mr. Cittadino?
Yes, at this time, if we can get Mr. Rezis to the dais, as well. Recognition number 1 is first to move the board to recognize Nicholas Brana, 7th grade student at Jonas Salk Middle School, for winning the first place in the Middlesex County Environmental Essay Contest.
Thank you. So Nicholas received this award for his essay on non-point source pollution, which I'm sure everyone here is very familiar with. I'm joking.
I know.
You do?
I'm a science teacher.
Oh, okay, well, that's what you, but it does speak to just the knowledge of our students now and the success that we celebrate. It's always a great honor when one of our students receives such a special recognition. So I thank him as well as congratulate him on his success. Nicholas also was recently recognized at the New Brunswick Freeholders meeting, where he was also presented with an award by the Director of Waste Management. So once again, congratulations, Nicholas. Thank you.
Mr. Cittadino is making his way over to the podium.
Okay. I will complete recognition 2 and 3 from the dais. If at this time I could have Dr. Giles from Miller School please join me. Please do as well. On behalf of the board, I'm offering you a certificate to the Miller School PTA and faculty for being recognized, along with the school leaders and educators, as the National PTA School of Excellence for their achievements in building effective family and school partnerships. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Miller community, I would just like to thank the Board of Education for this recognition. Joining me is Mrs. Brana, our PTA president. We are truly thrilled to be the recipient of the School of Excellence Award from the National PTA. At Miller School, we've made the homeschool connection a priority, and also the efforts of our PTA, the tireless efforts, have really made it very successful. So again, I would certainly like to thank you for recognizing us, and I know that Mrs. Brana has a few words as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you as well. I express my gratitude to you for the recognition. I just wanted to say that certainly an award like this doesn't come about without a wonderful collaborative effort, and the staff, the administrators, and the parents at Miller School all deserve a thank you for their tireless volunteerism and dedication to making the theory that the homeschool connection is important and that students do well when their parents are involved, and to make those to put those words into action and to put concrete policies in place that foster the success of our students is been a treat to be a part of. So thank you very much.
I'd also like to recognize Ms. Brana for having the, proactiveness to come meet with me and to want to spread the word to the other schools about that home and school connection. And we're working on ways to have parents more involved in the schools, that it still allows us to maintain the safety of our schools and have the parents as visitors in our schools. So I want to thank you for bringing that information to me. Next, if I can have Principal of Jonas Salk Middle School, Mr. William Rezis, please come to the dais with your PTA, Ms. Resch, and to be recognized as well, because Jonas Salk Middle School also was recognizing their parents, school leaders, and educators for the National PTA School of Excellence for their achievements in building that strong family and home and school connection. So thank you and congratulations on behalf of the board.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Board of Education. As the principal of Jonas Salk Middle School, I'm extremely proud of my team of teachers, my professional staff, and the surrounding community members. This recognition by the National PTA paints an accurate picture of our school and our culture. We have always believed that the environment of our school is one that is welcoming to the community, safe for our students and staff, and provides our students with a school experience that will be remembered well into their adult life. I would like to specifically thank the members of our Parent Advisory Committee, our teachers, Ms. England, Mr. Garrison, Mr. Andriachi, Ms. Kelly, and Ms. Langen, and our PTA members, Ms. Rich, Ms. Michelson, Ms. Ferrigno, Ms. Barsili, and Ms. Bennett. It is the collaboration of this team that brought on this recognition and, more importantly, advanced the connection and commitment we have with building a partnership between the school and the community it serves. So thank you again.
All right, thank you, everyone. We have a scout in the audience. Mr. Demand, do you want to stand up for a second for me? Just stand up, turn around and wave to the camera. Go ahead, turn around, the cameras are behind you. Just wave, say hello. Oh, there you go. Mr. Demand happens to be one of the scouts from my troop. You can sit down now, honey. Every once in a while, you do see scouts here, and we like to recognize them, of course, when the boys get the Eagle Scouts or the girls get a gold award. Very, very high achievements in the world of scouting. However, we do see people at the Township Council meetings and the Board of Education meetings on a variety of occasions, and I don't know if anybody understands why. Some of the badges that you need, especially for the rank of Eagle, one of them is communication and the other is citizenship in the community. And in each one of those, there is a requirement in which the scout has to attend a viable meeting, not just say hello and run out, but they have to sit through a Board of Ed meeting or a Township Council meeting in order to meet the requirements. So Mr. Demand is here today, and I thought since he's one of mine, I'd be able to say hello. Okay? With that, I need to move recognition.
Mongan will move.
Thank you, Ms. Mongan. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Hopman. Mr. Mara?
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman,
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Borsili,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motions 1 through 3 pass.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms. Anderson, are we ready? Okay.
So some past events at Old Bridge High School have been our Pink Out, which we raised over $5,000 for families in Old Bridge that have been affected by breast cancer. Also, we had the senior dinner cruise. It was a great time. Many seniors were unfortunately put on the wait list, but our chaperones agreed to give up their seats so we could fit in as many students as possible. We also had the homecoming dance, which was October 16th, and tickets also sold out for that, and there was also a wait list. Our king and queen were Miles Williams and Georgia Brennan. A boardwalk-like games were constructed, as well as a boardwalk for the entrance. As far as Making Strides Walk with Peer, it was last Sunday at Point Pleasant, and the Peer program raised nearly $12,000. Some upcoming events, the College Fair, which is Thursday, October 23rd, from 7 to 9 in the main campus cafeteria. We also have Spirit Week, which is the 27th to the 31st. Monday will be America Monday, which is patriotic themed. Twin Day, Tuesday. Disney Day, Wednesday. Superhero Day, Thursday. And Friday is Halloween. A fan bus will be sent to the football game on Halloween against Monroe. SAD, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions, they're sponsoring a number of things, including a contest on CelebrateMyDrive.com for safe driving, where students are encouraged to vote for their commitment to safe driving. There is a possibility to win a $100,000 grant and a concert by the band Perry. It's also Red Ribbon Week next week, where SAD wants to band together drugs by selling red concert bands for $1. Also, tomorrow, SAD will be having a guest speaker for seniors, Gabe Hurley, whose life was forever altered by a speeding teenage driver. As far as innovation and technology, our announcements, I used to say the morning announcements, and they would go on and on forever, and it would cut into first period. So now they're displayed in the cafeteria on 2 projectors. I don't know, some of you have heard, but Old Bridge is introducing an app created by one of our seniors, John Shamus. He's very intelligent. It'll include a bell schedule, which shows what period you are currently in, as well as a full day, half day, and delayed opening schedules. It will show district or school news. It will include a map of the building where you must scan your student ID's barcode in order to unlock features. You can enter in a room number or locker number to be directed on the map. Information about clubs and sports in the high school with advisor and coach contact links, as well as schedule info. Miscellaneous information like Do the Right Thing t-shirt recipients, which Mr. Sasso awards for students who do the right thing. Push notifications like school or road closings, and the creator is looking to integrate this capability into certain emergency drills where a student administrator can send an alert to all students, staff, and parents. The app is ready for deployment and is waiting on Apple to approve and finalize details regarding a license, which should take no longer than 2 weeks. Yeah.
Sure you didn't miss anything?
No.
Okay.
I think I covered it.
Ms.
Thank you.
Andrani?
Thank you very much.
sorry.
Any
Can I-
questions for our young Miss Anderson?
Not a question, but a comment. I happened to see that app, I guess in a mock demonstration at the PTSA meeting last night. It's amazing. It's amazing. The gentleman that created it is amazing. And to top it off, it's no cost to the district. Something like that would have probably cost thousands and thousands of dollars, I would assume. I don't know, but it's an amazing piece of technology by one of our own.
We need to recognize him someplace along the line.
Yes, we're going to
Okay.
recognize John Shamus, and it truly is, I've seen him speak at various venues through technology meetups, and he is a TED speaker as well, the Navasync TEDx, which talks about technology education and engineering and innovation. So he's done an amazing job, and like you said, that app is truly remarkable. I wish I had it when I was the principal there, because you can plug in what room you need to go to, and he actually placed in it a security feature that times out as well, so you have to scan your ID so you can see the map, so not anybody could go on and get the app and then have the map access to the building. So once you scan your student ID, it'll give you the map access, and you can put in room 198, and it'll highlight on the map where room 198 is. You can put your locker in and highlight where your locker is if you need to find your locker for the first day. So truly a very great tool for new students coming to a very large high school. And the fact that he actually had the wherewithal to think about putting security features in shows you where he's at and where he's going. So very proud of him. And CelebrateMyDrive.com, from what I'm hearing, we're only a few positions away from getting 25,000. We have to be in the top 100 to get 25,000. So you said it was CelebrateMyDrive.com? Am I correct? It's CelebrateMyDrive.com?
Yeah, CelebrateMyDrive.com.
that again?
CelebrateMyDrive.com.
Thank you.
One more time?
Thank you.
Okay, just, Mr. Basili, did you brought to the attention the car wash on Saturday? Do you want
Yes.
to comment on that while we're in this area of
I
student
know that they
activities?
did very well. My understanding is from donations alone, I think the figure was about $1,100 for the Old Bridge High School Orchestra for a trip to Boston that they're looking to do in the springtime. So it was very successful. The product that they used they had a table set up and they were selling it and they were going to kick back something. That number did not come in yet, so we don't know. So it's probably over that, but they did very, very well. And thank you to everybody that participated.
Okay, moving along, Mr. Cittadino?
Yes. I'll prepare a little bit of the superintendent's report, and at the conclusion of the superintendent's report, we'll have progress towards goals. So I know there'll be a PowerPoint presentation for progress towards goals, so I'll let you prepare for that while I'm going through the superintendent's report. We'll go in order. Members of the board had asked me to provide a report to update as where we are with the iPad since the 2012 beginnings of an implementation, and I put together this narrative. I didn't want to have two PowerPoint presentations in one night. So I've asked my team to compile some information, some research, and a survey. So this report is going to be based upon the culmination of empirical data that is gleaned from the use of the iPads in the field, the service record for these devices, the research, and the views of 203 respondents to a district-wide online survey. Because of the district opted not to implement the one-to-one delivery model, it is not reliable to attribute any successes or failures in assessment data to the iPad. As we'll see tonight, we'll have some real great highlights from some of our tested areas, but because without a one-to-one, it's tough to say that was a contributing factor as to why we had those gains. So we'll start with the time frame. The administration introduced the premise of the large-scale iPad deployment to the Old Bridge School District on the Board of Education on September 19th of 2012 at a regular meeting, and held discussion again on October 16th, 2012 at the agenda building session. At the regular meeting of the board, the members voted unanimously on, that was October 25th, by the way. On the October 25th regular meeting of the board, the members voted unanimously on a $1.5 million resolution authorizing the lease purchase financing to acquire Apple iPads and laptops for educational purposes. The professional development that occurred, and it happened in various platforms and at multiple times of the deployment. So in October 2012, we had mandatory 2-hour training was provided for any teacher piloting the devices in their middle school classrooms. The professional development was made available also to parents at Parent University. On November 2012, then 100 iPads were delivered to those middle schools. In November and December of 2012, after-work professional development opportunities were provided to all teachers, and 144 iPads were delivered to 12 elementary schools. In January of 2013, 65 iPads were then delivered to the high school. In the spring of 2013, 3,000 iPads arrived in the district for configuration. In the summer of 2013, the professional development continued and was offered to all staff at multiple days. In October of 2013, I'm sorry, that should be 3,000 iPads were distributed across the district. So what we've seen maintenance-wise is, since the implementation, we've had 43 cracked screens that were repaired under the Apple Care program. 5 of those cracked screens, the most recent ones, were repaired by our on-site technicians who have learned and mastered how to do this very cost-effective technique. 19 were sent back to Apple for repair after use by students in which the home button or the port needed to be adjusted. Sometimes the home button got stuck, or if the port was jammed in the wrong way, the charging port, that it destroyed some of the pins inside. So that needed to be fixed. Of the 3,806 that we currently have, 0 of them had any defects outside of the box. We've had sporadic downtime that is caused by problems with service lines, controller malfunctions, and power outages and surges. We've implemented a corrective action plan to address these concerns that we can control. And that corrective action plan is ongoing, and I had several meetings today about it. Some of the benefits we found with the Apple iPad. The closed iOS system protects the device from user modifications. Well, if you were using a device at home, you might want an open system where you can make changes to it. But having a closed system with students makes it easier because they can less apt to be able to change the configuration of the iPad. The configurator tool assists us in the timely distribution of apps and unit profiles. The breadth and quality of the Apple's app market is still the most competitive edge for the iPad. The quality of the apps in the iPad continues to overshadow those of the Android. Developers usually create the apps first and most exclusively for the Apple App Store because of the large user base, and the apps in the App Store are more likely to get fixed first when there's bugs in them. One of the benefits we also found is the 3-hour battery life. It says 3 more hours of battery life than the Chromebook, and that's been essential in the testing formats. Mechanical issues have not been a problem. You know, they do stand up strong to student use, aside from, again, the occasional droppings with the screen. But I think we've had less than 1% of that happen, so we're actually doing well in that area. And the iPads are not subject to viruses. Some of the drawbacks we found. They are costly in comparison to products other than the Surface. The Microsoft Surface is more expensive. And even with the newest versions of the iPad, there is still no USB or a memory card reader, and it doesn't allow for split screen for multitasking. Again, that also lends to the limited connectivity so with singular input device. So you can only have one thing plugged into at one time. So if you're using the keyboards, which we use for testing, you can't simultaneously charge the device. And there is no HDMI port. A survey was put out to the staff, and I believe it was open from, the entire staff was open from October 4th until October 19th. And the following information is what we gleaned from it. I think it's September, October. Question number 1. Do you think the class participation has increased because of the iPads? 175 replied yes, 28 no. Do you feel the iPad increases student engagement? 194 yes, 9 no. Has use of the iPads increased collaboration in your classroom? 177 said yes, 26 said no. Do you feel that because students are more actively engaged, disciplinary incidents have decreased? 151 yes, 52 no. Do you feel that the use of the iPads has had a positive impact of learning? 193 yes, 10 no. As an educational professional, do you feel that the use of the iPads has changed the way you teach in a positive way? 183 said yes and 20 said no. As an educational professional, do you feel the use of the iPad made you re-examine and change the professional development plans and your goals? 155 said yes, 48 said no. And lastly, do you feel your students remain on task for longer periods of time because of the iPads? 176 said yes and 27 said no. Now, I know these survey questions aren't the be-all, end-all of all data that we can take in, and I think time will be the greatest measure as to how successful they are. When I speak to tech professionals, when I go to the superintendent's roundtable and so forth, ones that have deployed the iPad and other venues that are out there and platforms that are available, one of the greatest benefits they do find is that when they go into the workplaces, when they go into the medical field, when they go into mechanic shops, when they're going into the restaurant industry, when they go into Nordstrom's now, the iPad is there. It is being used in workplace. So I think it is important that it's not the only platform we offer to our students, but as a platform in providing them with the skills they need for college and careers, because whether you love the iPad or not, it is the #1 selling tablet in the world, and the comparisons for the number 2 are still way behind that. I know there's been some leveling off on the iPad sales, but in the career place, it's still the chief tablet that's being used. So I welcome any questions at this time. Yes.
The 203 responses, what were the number of people eligible to respond?
Every teacher in the district.
How many would that be?
I think it's somewhere around it's over 800.
So it's fair to say this represents about 25% of the staff responding. This means approximately 25% of the staff did respond.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of like elections. Not everybody comes to them. We can offer them to everyone.
Question, and it's almost a little bit to that point. Please select your grade level. I noticed there was only 4 from high school. I would imagine they're being utilized much greater at the elementary level, but how much are we using them at the high school level? Do you know?
The high school has deployments of carts of them, and they're mostly signed out from the library, from the librarian. They go through her to sign them out and use them in the classrooms. I can get that data for you and bring it back to you. It's hard for me to tell you exactly how often they're signed out during the course of a day, but.
Anyone else? I was in attendance at the last SEPTA meeting, and there were a few parents who also had questions about the use of the iPads. I know that they are, I don't want to say used more, but they seem to be very much appreciated by the parents. I would guess that they're simpler to use or easier in instruction. So I know that that was part of that discussion. You could reach out to Mrs. Voss if you needed to for that. Okay.
Can I ask another question? So, to my point, again, and Donna, a little bit to that point as well with SEPTA, I know that iPads, for special needs, I don't think there is a better platform, right? And I think it's exceptional as well at the very early learning stages, particularly probably K through 2. Have we considered at all about looking at other platforms as the school grades progress a little bit? And I guess part of that might even be the issue with the keyboards, right? Because one concern that we do have with the park is I know that there's a lot of questions about the students having to type essays and so on. And I don't know if you mentioned it regarding how many keyboards we had for the iPads, but would we be better off considering next time around some sort of platform such as a Chromebook or a Surface that has a keyboard available with it, where, with the iPad you have that one port, as you mentioned, for the keyboard, and then it's difficult to charge it at the same time and so on.
So with that, yes, of course, we try to, as the students go up in grade level, we do increase the number of platforms available. If you look around this room, you're surrounded by iMacs, and then we use a lot of MacBook Pros, and we just ordered laptop carts, which you guys probably remember voting on recently for the high school, and the question came up of how many in a cart. So, and those are more PC related. I think those are HPs that we received. So we do offer multiple platforms, and again, they're kind of tailored to what the student needs are. And here you do have everything from drafting and architecture, which might be, and so in this room where we do a lot of filmmaking. So it depends on what the student needs are and what is driven by the course requirements. But I agree with you that, you need to have multiple platforms, and the iPad, it does fit a need for a large portion of our population, but there's still others that we still want to introduce other products to.
Mr. Cittadino, I was asked for a breakdown. I'm sure you don't know off the top of your head, but how the iPads are distributed, like how many to each school, if and when you can, so I could respond to.
I actually have that right here. I can provide to the end of the day, but I don't want to provide everyone with all the numbers. But it's relatively, for every 100 students, there was a cart of 30 at the elementary level. And then each teaching team in the middle school received a cart per teaching team. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? All right, progress towards goals?
Progress towards goals, I'm going to have at this time Mr. Jeff Caulfield, who is our supervisor of guidance services and assessment, and he's provided us with our district testing report. And I thank Mr. Caulfield for being here tonight. I do.
Thank you, Mr. Cittadino. Thank you, Board of Education, for the opportunity to present our annual testing data. Might as well go right to the numbers. Last Wednesday, over 2,000 students took the PSAT and Ready Step at Old Bridge High School. This is the second time that we've had the school-wide PSAT administration here in Old Bridge. I would describe it as being ahead of the curve as we transition to the Common Core and also to the park. The College Board has aligned all of their assessments with the Common Core, so preparing our students and letting our students get a glimpse of those assessments is actually going to further prepare them for the park assessments that will take place this spring. A few acknowledgments. I'd like to thank Mr. Cittadino, Dr. Hoker, Ms. Kibler for supporting the PSAT initiative, and also the Board of Education. Without them, this would not have been possible. And then worthy of note is the high school Mr. Sasso and Mr. Dolan. It's a huge assessment to administer to over 2,000 students. I believe the number is actually 2,061. We use over 200 proctors in over 85 rooms in 2 buildings. So it's just a massive, stream of paperwork and test booklets and pencils and whatever happens. And they assist with the administration of the PSAT. And also the high school staff. Last year was the first time that they had seen the PSAT, so it's a new manual, it's a new answer folder, it's a new test booklet. So just any learning curve, last year was, we did a great job and there were no test booklet irregularities, and the same thing this year, but now the staff is more comfortable with the assessment and you could just feel it in the building. It was, when you have, even at the main campus, the 10th and 11th graders testing, and you could hear pin drop in the hallways by 8 o'clock in the morning with the assessment. Now to some of the numbers. With the SAT numbers, there are 2 factors that you need to consider when looking at these numbers. First of all, it's a snapshot. So we educate our children over 13 years with full-day kindergarten now. So this is a snapshot of their knowledge in their junior year, potentially sophomore or even senior year. So it's not just this data that's going to show or display how much progress and improvement we've made here, but it is significant. And also, when you're looking at this data, there are many variables that go into this. It's not simply the PSAT. There are many different things, and changes in leadership, and positive models, and a highly effective staff, and integration of technology. So just many factors that go into this data. But very important to understand, we had this over the last 4 years, this data. So we saw a gentle increase from 2012 to 2013. Regarding the SAT data, and then we saw a steep incline from last year. This is basically from the 2013-14 school year. So this is actually the highest SAT scores that we've had in Old Bridge High School. So it's a significant, marked occasion for growth and improvement, and we're looking to just continue that improvement and sustain that growth as much as we possibly can. Some factors that contribute to the growth, these are initiatives that have been in place. There's nothing new here. ISIPs are, Dr. Ferry actually developed the form where we can take the NJ Ask data, and teachers can actually see their students' specific cluster strengths and cluster weaknesses, so they can identify those strengths and weaknesses and look to work and expand upon each one of those. School analysis template is similar to that, where we can actually look at that same data with the strengths and weaknesses for particular schools, and they can identify areas where they need to improve or areas where they can continue to grow. The writing handbook and responses, it's not clear whether this will come from the PARCC assessments or not, but the NJ Ask actually gives us the writing responses that the students wrote on a CD, so the teachers can actually share the students' writing that they did the previous spring and look at their strengths and weaknesses from those writing responses. Optimal testing conditions, we have a confident and calm staff that's going to do their best to provide optimal test conditions for our students, and it's something I firmly believe in. And with the NJ Ask, we administer somewhere in the area of like 6,500. And all of those from this spring, again, with 0 test book irregularities across all 12, or even if we look at it, 16 buildings. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the PARCC this evening. The information from PARCC, and the vendor for PARCC is called Pearson, has been limited. We did have a successful field test administration last spring here in Old Bridge Public Schools. I believe we ran the field test in 9 buildings, and we improved with each one of those administrations of the field test. So we are prepared for the administration, and we're looking for more details to come from the state. They have not trained the district testing coordinators as of yet. And the dates are proposed at this time, but the dates for there's 2 components to the PARCC. The PBA, or performance-based assessment, is March 2nd through March 27th, and the end-of-year assessment will be April 27th through May 22nd. There's some additional variables at the high school level which could adjust some of these dates, but this should be pretty much set by now. Now to the numbers. I don't mean to bore you going through each one of the grade levels and math and English language arts, but I'll go relatively quickly, and we can see how we compare to what's called the FG. New Jersey classifies their schools what's called district factor grouping. So our district factor grouping is FG. So we're going to compare our NJ-ASC results and HESPA results to other schools that are classified in a similar DFG as we are, which is the FG. So for all of these graphs, the left column, it actually didn't fit in the PowerPoint. The left column is partially proficient, and the right column is advanced proficient. That middle column of proficiency, just think of that as where those blocks or chunks of percentages can be moved from either direction, where we want fewer partially proficient students and more advanced proficient students, obviously. And I'll go through a couple of these relatively quickly. The elementary schools outperform the FG in almost every area. There was actually just one area where we're just competitive with the FG. So if you'll notice, and this is a trend that will be throughout the grade levels, in the left-hand columns, Old Bridge Public Schools is the purple bar, and the FG is the light purple bar. So we outperform the FG in partially proficient in grade 3 math. We have fewer students who are partially proficient. And then when you look at the advanced proficient data, we also outperform the FG in advanced proficient for grade 3 math. Same trend for grade 3 English language arts. We have fewer partially proficient students when compared to similar schools. And also we have more advanced proficient students when we compare them to similar schools. This is the same trend you'll see through all of the data, which when you look at Old Bridge Public Schools compared to like schools, we actually outperform for the most part across the board. There's some issues that I'll discuss at the middle schools when we get to grade 6, 7, and 8. So grade 4, same trend, fewer partially proficient and more advanced proficient students. Same trend in grade 4 English language arts, fewer partially and more advanced proficient. Grade 5, this would be described as basically competitive with the FG when we're looking at partially proficient students, almost a similar number or percentage of students. And then again, we have a couple fewer in grade 5 math in the advanced proficient. And then grade 5 English language arts, we pick back up to being outperforming the FG. We have fewer partially and more advanced proficient students. Actually, last year we identified some of the middle school areas in need of improvement. What happened in our curriculum in math was that geometry was actually covered after the NJ-ASC administration. So what we had done was to provide optimal testing conditions, we test all of our middle schools at the same time so that the whole building is testing and quiet at one time. And not that that changed the curriculum or the curriculum mapping, but for the most part, in the middle schools, for the partially proficient number, we're going to outperform the FG. And then in the advanced proficient area, you can think of this chunk of the proficient group, we would like to move over into that advanced proficient column. So that trend will continue through the middle schools as we approach 8th, and then we have the data gap and there's no testing for 9th and 10th. And then we're going to approach now competitive with the FG again. So the same trend will continue grade 6 ELA, fewer partially, and now we have fewer advanced proficient students, which we'd want to move this block over and have more advanced proficient students. Same trend in grade 7. Now grade 7 ELA would be considered competitive with the FG, where the columns are almost equal. And then grade 8 is similar. Now as you transition to the high school is now a graduation requirement, so the test, not that it becomes easier, but the scale score is designed more for students to pass, because obviously the state wants to pass as many students as possible. The students who don't pass the grade 11 HESPA have to retest in October and potentially go through a whole nother series of processes in order to fulfill their state testing graduation requirement. So at the high school, we are competitive with the FG across the board. We're competitive in the area of grade 11 math, where we have basically the same number of partially proficient and the same number of advanced proficient students. And then interesting in English language arts, for some reason it's just an anomaly where the state basically made the test too easy, and you see how few partially proficient students there were statewide or in the FG. We actually were above 99% in our proficiency in English language arts for grade 11, which was a noteworthy triumph for us And again, it was basically they made the test easy, which is when that data just fluctuates somewhat. In summary, we are outperforming the districts that are classified similar to us. We've shown growth in the SAT and also now with the PSAT and advanced placement courses that we offer. We have a highly effective instructional leadership team combined with a highly qualified teaching and support staff, and this group combines together, and we will continue to improve and grow as we transition to the Common Core and the park. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Mr. Crawford, just a point of clarity, the SAT scores that you report, they don't reflect in the recent Top 100 poll?
Correct. The New Jersey Monthly publishes every 2 years. They publish the top 100 high schools. They actually rank all of the high schools in New Jersey, but they publish in their in the New Jersey Monthly magazine the top 100. So basically, this improvement that you see right here, which is since 2008, I believe it was something like 80 points in the aggregate score. So this number is going to be in the next New Jersey Monthly cycle for the top 100 high schools, which should reflect positively for us. So this data has not yet been put into that data that will be reported in the NJ Monthly.
A question? On the SAT scores, the longitudinal data, are the percentages of students over those 4 years similar who are taking them?
The number of students who take the SAT?
No, yes, the percentage of eligible students that are taking them.
Yes, that would be, I mean, the SAT is probably the most consistent of the scores that are going to be, you know, used by colleges and universities nationwide. So these numbers typically, you know, nationwide or district-wide would be fairly stable. Again, the law of large numbers protects us here in Old Bridge. It gives us more meaningful data because we have a larger sample size whenever we're looking at these numbers. So this growth is actually showing that there's something happening here that's allowing us to improve, where most of the data wouldn't fluctuate nearly as much with the SAT overall. It would be more stable, a stable line nationwide and district-wide for most schools.
And I just, one question about the park, as we did the parks field test. We used multiple platforms to test with that, right? Technology platforms?
Yes, we actually wanted to test our systems. So I remember the conversation with you where we were actually happy to be chosen to administer the field test for the park. It allowed us to test our technology capacity, or, you know, our ability to actually administer this test. So at the elementary schools, we actually tested, we had 2 groups were tested at each one of the grade levels for which we were selected. So we did one of the groups in the computer labs and one of the groups in with the iPads so that we could make sure we could administer on both platforms. And we did each successfully. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Caulfield. Any other questions? No? Okay. Correspondence, Mr. Mara? No, there isn't. All right, we have no correspondence at this time. Special committee reports. Mr. Silikowski, do you want to talk about the policy? You want to wait till we get to policy?
Let's do it now.
Okay.
Okay, we had a policy meeting, I believe, about 2-3 weeks ago, and we went over quite a few policies. The ones for the first reading, basically tonight, we didn't go over these, which is home instruction due to health conditions, student intervention and referral services, home out-of-school instruction for general education students, electronic communication between teaching staff member and student, electronic communication between support staff member and student, attendance, which is very, very important, and our attorney will clarify this one, suspension, removal of students for firearm offenses, assault on District Board of Education members or employees, assault on District Board of Education member or employees, removal of student for assault with weapon offenses, expulsion, and reporting potential missing or abused children. And this is the one for the first reading tonight. The other one is the Board Alert 204, school level planning, which is going to be abolished. it's mandated, health services for personnel, health services for non-public schools, student health records, health services, screening for dyslexia, substance abuse, student discipline, code of conduct, transgender students, wellness policy, nutrient standards for meals and other foods. And we would like to table, I guess we'll do that now or later, Donna, bylaws 0155. Okay, well, okay, we also had a small curriculum meeting, which I'll briefly go over. We discussed the student exchange program to Italy. I believe we have 20 students going to Italy for, I believe, a week and a half to 2 weeks, and these students, or the families are going to pay for these students to go there. And they will be studying Italian culture, see how people live in Italy compared to how we live in the United States. Another one was updates on the full-day kindergarten. Ms. Kibler presented a nice little section on that. Updates on the summer school program at Sandburg. We have approximately 100 students at Sandburg School System that need extra help in math, science, whatever. And what we do is we open up the doors in the summer. Last year we had a very successful program, and I guess we're going to pursue it again next year. We also had updates on the beauty culture and the CAD program. And that's about it with curriculum. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Silikowski.
Just one thing I do want to say, that the summer school program, that was made up of students from both Sauk and Sandburg.
Okay, but we did run it at Sandburg,
Yeah, you
right?
ran it at Sandburg, that's correct.
And there was approximately 100 students. 87 or something
Yeah,
like
I
that?
think it's close to that, yes. Very good.
Very successful, thank you.
Matt, can I just ask one question? I know I wasn't at the curriculum meeting, I apologize for that, but the Italy program that you're speaking of, is that similar to the German program that we have as an exchange student, or is it just
I believe we have the director from the foreign languages here. Maybe she can clarify it.
Ms. Kibler, I apologize. Why don't you come up here this way? You need to come to the microphone.
Very good
otherwise-
question, though, Kev. Very good.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
Not a problem. We actually have the teachers who are in charge of the program. Stephen Laperuta is the Old Bridge High School Italian teacher who is planning this. It is not an exchange student program similar to the German exchange student program. This is actually an Italian study abroad program. So the students will travel to Italy, to the area of Genoa, and they will be staying there for approximately 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks, and studying every day for 2 hours and then doing cultural excursions as well. Does that help to answer the question, Mr. Porcelli?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess to clarify, the difference is there's an academic component when it's a study abroad program versus an exchange program.
There's actually...
And we're not reciprocating with another.
Correct. There's always an academic component to every program we put together through the department. However, this one in specific, or in particular, is that we will not be hosting Italian students for this particular year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Donna, one more thing. On the clarification for the attendance. Years ago, even last year, if your child was ill for 2 or 3 weeks, went to the doctor, had an operation, that was excused. Right now, the state, I guess they came up with a new policy where you're only excused for religious holidays and take your child to work today. That's it. The rest are unexcused, I believe. Am I right?
There's now going to be 3 categories: excused, unexcused, not counting towards truancy, and unexcused, counting towards truancy. There was a change in the regulation. Unexcused, not counting towards truancy would encompass such things as illness, required court appearances for students, God help us, suspensions, family illness, and the like, and there's also a provision for case-by-case basis. The change in the regulation appears to be geared towards making sure kids are in school and not truant, and not necessarily penalizing them for being out ill, but just making the distinction between kids who are out ill and kids who are out truant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. And just again for clarification, the Old Bridge Board of Education and Central Administration team did not change that. For those of you who are shaking your head saying, I don't understand, that was not from us.
This came from the state of New Jersey, I believe.
That's a new change in the administrative code.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mrs. Andriani?
Board members? Mr.
Yeah,
DePrima?
I had a food service athletic complex event committee meeting on October 1st. It was predominantly a food service meeting because apparently there's been a lot of concern in the community about some changes in the menus. Michelle Feliciano was there, the Director of Food Services, and she satisfactorily answered everybody's questions. Might not have been the answers they all wanted to hear, but it's, everything that's been changed or whatever we do is federal mandated, so we really don't have much choice in the matter. I was assured that they look anywhere they can for a variety of menu items to enhance what the children are offered. And again, it's pretty much out of our control, and I have full faith in our staff that they are doing everything they possibly can to make the menu somewhat of a variety. That's pretty much it on the food service side, and on the athletic complex event, it was attended by PTSA people and Pop Warner football people, and there's really nothing much to report on that. Everything was smooth.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you, Mr. DePrima. I believe that's it, correct? Special committee, all right. Facilities use, we're not moving on any of that, just everybody has the report if they wish to review it. Moving on now to hearing of the residents, agenda items only. Is there anyone out there that would like to speak? Mr. Polino? Mr. Polino's making his way to the podium.
Good evening. Is it all right to speak on two separate agenda issues, topics? Okay. First, regarding the iPads, technology as a tool, I applaud you for making the decision. As you know, I'm not an advocate for the iPads per se. I was doing a little research and I looked at I came across an article that talked about the good way and the bad way to roll out a program like this. LA has the second largest school system in the nation, and they just recently recalled 2,100 iPads from their students. Obviously, the bad way to do it. It was a pilot program for 650,000 students. 2,100 is their pilot program. Hillsborough, not too far from us. What they did, they rolled out 200 iPads, 200 Chromebooks. And after testing, decided the Chromebooks was the better way to go. And not only did they do that, they entered in an agreement with Google to test additional Nexus tablets as well. So my question is, what research method was used for the iPads? And considering that we've already invested $1.5 million in them for 3,000 units, what's the goal? What's the end game for them now? We don't want to end up like LA, recalling 2,100 units, and looking at 25% of our teachers commending them really doesn't say a lot. So what is the method that we're using to determine whether or not they stay, whether or not they go, and their true successes? That's the first question.
Well, we did several methodologies of providing some research, even locally. We visited several districts that had it roll out. We visited Morristown, we visited Monroe, we visited Long Branch, and there was another one, I'm trying to think of the name of it off the top of my head. And then we also piloted a few of the products. We had our tech committee, tech roundtable, and the technology and curriculum part that's open to the public provide opportunities for it. We brought in Chromebooks, and we put them in the hands of our teachers. We brought in iPads. We brought in Asus tablets, and we brought in, there was another tablet, I don't know if I'm looking at the Nexus as well. And they used them in the classrooms. They came back to the technology roundtable, and they reported back from our own people how they fit. Because to me, you know, how Los Angeles uses them with their students may not be the same as how the Old Bridge students would use them, how the Old Bridge teachers use them. You know, the one thing's great was we have a, if you think it is great, not many people do, not everyone does, but we have a common standards now, but we have different curriculums. The standards don't always drive the curriculum, and how we deliver instruction is different. So some of the research has to be local, and we did that. And then the community that was involved, or I guess the technology community that was involved here locally, started piloting a few of the apps. Once it was decided upon that we're going to go with the iPad, they went out and did samples of all of the apps that were available, and they reported back to them in a wiki blog. And anybody could look at those, any of the teachers in the district could look at those, use those, sample it, find out the information. And I think there was over 200 entries just alone in that. And that was part of the research we did locally and from afar, from visiting places. And then, of course, looking at, research is great now because you can find it anywhere. Just for my report, and I can find research that says Chromebooks aren't the way to go, just as you can find a research that says iPads aren't the way to go.
Absolutely.
It depends on who's steering it and whose money's behind it, and what the goal is when you do the research. So at the goal right now with our iPads, we're using them as a platform. We think they're a valuable platform. They work to fulfill our needs. They have shown plenty of success, especially with our young learners who interact well with a touch screen. But we're not isolated here to think that that's it. We don't say, well, that's the be-all, end-all, and that's the only thing we have. And we're going to continue to look at other products and bring other products in that'll help our students not to test, but to be career and college ready when they leave here.
Do we currently have any agreement, or are we in communication with any primary developers so that it can be tweaked? Like you said, every district is different. Do we have a plan in place to speak directly with the developers to tweak them for Old Bridge needs?
I don't know the answer to that question. I would have to refer that to my technology department. If you want to give me a call, I can get that back to you. I know we do speak to a lot of the vendors out there. I can't say that we're actually speaking to a developer.
Okay, great. Second point was on the study abroad program. You said there was approximately, or there was 20 students. And did I misunderstand? Did I hear it was being paid for by the families?
That is, okay, I just wanted to
Was
answer
that
that
correct?
part.
I saw nods. I'm sorry.
No, I don't want to, we'll give you the time. So it's a voluntary, not a mandatory, and they have to fulfill certain run requirements, but there is a limited number of seats, and it is completely funded by the families.
So do we have any opportunity like that for low-income families that wouldn't be able, I mean, it's a great opportunity. Do we have anything in place for low-income to?
The way as a district we always use to determine low income is the way they self-report on the free and reduced lunch program. And any student who expresses interest in that, who falls into the free and reduced lunch, for any one of our academic venues that cost money, we offer allowances for that.
But none are within the 20?
What's that?
None are within the 20 that
Well,
are
it doesn't,
going.
it may be within the 20. If one of them says, listen, or, if we know of a student, usually our teachers are very good at knowing of students who fall in that area, but may need a research, or may need the assistance, I should say, in taking advantage of such an opportunity. They bring it to our attention, and we see what we can do.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just as a point, Mr. Polino, we had, was it 40, Ms. Kibler? There were at least 40 students, I believe that was the number, that expressed interest. So it was a selective process. It wasn't just because a student said, I want to go to Italy and my parents can come up with the money, that they would be selected to go. It was I don't want to say competitive, but let's say it was a selective process, and the students went through an application interview process, and they had to be in an advanced level course. Did I get that correctly?
To that, it's levels 4 and AP. Level 4 is honors, and then the advanced placement program. We have not even completed the full application process.
It came to me the other, we visited with Rutgers, and they provided us with a sample iPad and a sample tool. At one of the board one of the board meetings, I actually showed it to everyone. It was like a microscope, and they were able to demonstrate, looking at an insect, how the teacher can then take it from the one iPad and then project it to all the other iPads in the room. So they provided a great amount of research for us, too.
Yeah, working for Rutgers, I happen to know a lot about their digital classroom support, and they do have great tools. And you mentioned earlier about the Surface. Yes, it is a little bit more pricey, but it gives you a more precise annotation feature. The pen is more precise, and it's full Windows, so you can pretty much, you're not limited by applications. You're not limited by mobile applications, so it may be something you want to consider.
That was one thing I do like about the Surface, because they use a lot of the Word features, Office, which you don't get with the Chromebook.
And to my point earlier, that's where I think, there's, and you had mentioned it as well, there's certain levels, right? Obviously, I don't know that we would be utilizing a Surface too often in a kindergarten class or with special needs students, right? The iPad, I think, is a little bit more geared towards that, but the Surface, I think, more so for the high school students, right? And then you have the whole range in between kindergarten and high school as well. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? We're in the public portion still. Is there anybody else that has anything to say? Do we have any flocking notices that we need? Is that time soon? Is it flocking time soon? I found a picture of my house on the internet being used as a flocking model. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's a fundraiser with flamingos. It's a long story. We'll get into it when we're ready for that season. Okay. And no other members of the community? I see a hand over there. Ms. Saladino, our UC, that's my work, Old Bridge Education Association President.
Good evening. Thank you. Nicole Saladino. I just wanted to touch base on two things. One was the curriculum writing. I know we've been over this a few times, but some of the language says major reconstruction, and it's usually revise or rewrite in order, to the language in the collective bargaining agreement. So I just didn't know if that was something that was different, or I don't know, Ms. Andriani, if you want me to direct that through you. But that was one question.
I believe that came up at the agenda meeting as well. Was it just the language change that we needed to do?
The language is exactly what is written in the OBEA contract in that article, where it stipulates curriculum writing. It's a major reconstruction is 20 hours, and a tweaking or a minor revision is 10 hours. But that's the exact language that is in the OBEA contract.
Right, revise or rewrite are usually those two terms.
But it's reconstruction that's in the language of it.
Okay, and then just one last thing, because I saw some things that were spoken to weren't on the agenda, so I just wanted to touch base. And I don't want to bring this up again, but today I had a rep council meeting with 60 members in attendance, and one of the issues that came up again was math workbooks. I was informed today that Shara, grade 3, 4, and 5 still do not have math workbooks, and that Miller School, grade 1, 3, and 4, and second grade, only one grade has math workbooks, and that was just from the two people that had discussed that with me. So I know we've been in contact. I know I've sent correspondence. I know everybody tells me it's the distributor, but when teachers are being evaluated on their performance through Achieve New Jersey, and we've had our copier issues, now there's concerns that were brought up of paper today that they're running out of. I don't know what to tell them why they still don't have math workbooks. So, they've been patient, so I just wanted to bring that up again.
Just if I can respond to that. When the math workbooks weren't in, I was very critical of it myself. Reached out to the Follett company, and they very apologetically took full responsibility for it. They stated that the employees of this district did everything correctly. In the spring, placing their order, they took the opportunity to throw an intern at Follett under the bus who deleted the order, and they said they apologized and they're trying to get it to us as soon as possible. The problem is with Follett distributes, when we ordered it, they had plenty of things in stock. When they deleted the order and you come to September, all the districts have ordered, what Follett does is they they order from they take from the overflow that's in other places, and they distribute it to you. So at the time, they had it. So now that all the districts have gotten their orders, they're having trouble piecemealing those large orders together, and the main manufacturer, Houghton Mifflin, doesn't have it to give them at the time. So they're going through that. What I've done, I've already put follow-up notice that they're done with this district. I don't care what kind of money they save us. This is 2 years in a row now with them that they've done this, and I'd rather have books in hand than save a few dollars. So we're at that point where we are. If I've already talked to Mr. Mara, if there's a concern about paper in a building, then we will get paper to that building. We spoke to Houghton Mifflin about making copies because through no fault of our own, we don't have books. And they kind of said they're not giving us permission to make copies of their book because it's a copyright violation. I'm at the point where I don't care if it's a copyright violation. I need those workbooks in the classrooms. I know the teachers have been wonderful at pulling from different materials and adjusting where they can, but it's getting to the point where, they said they'll have them by the end of the month. So if they don't live past that, then, I'll be running to Staples and making copies myself.
Okay, because that is my only concern is, we've had this conversation the second week of September. I know I spoke to both of you end of the month. Now it's October 21st, and it's an issue because they're photocopying all of the material with issues with copiers and paper on top of that. So I just wanted to make sure that, I know you guys are following up on it, but it's like, I don't know if it's 2 years or 3 years in a row. So, thank you.
Mrs. Saladino, I'd just like to, quote from the contract. It says, "New courses or major reconstruction shall be compensated for 20 hours." So we have used the exact language in the contract in the board agenda. And a revision shall be compensated at 10 hours. So that was the language that we used on the board agenda.
Okay, thank you. Just trying to keep up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Saladino. And this is 2 or 3 years in a row with the same company?
Yes.
Is that year 3? Is this is it the same book edition? Like this?
It appears that
the
it's
new
always masked.
version? And that's our approved textbook? Yeah. Okay. So if the decision is made to not use that book company, publisher / whatever provider, what are our options?
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. If we order early, would you want to speak to it, Ms. Kibler, since you did the homework on it?
Follett is the company that we've been using as the distributor for the Math and Focus program. However, the materials are available through Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. As a matter of fact, they presented me with a proposal that if we order next year's books, this year, we will have everything prior to the new year. And there is a considerable savings by doing this. I submitted the proposal to Mr. Mara last week, and my recommendation is that we move forward with this. The books will be in district for the first of the year, and we will no longer encounter this problem by ordering right through Houghton Mifflin Harcourt.
Something that will then, again, be discussed at curriculum? Will you share that out at that point?
We can certainly discuss it at the curriculum meeting, but I do have a deadline of November the 14th on this in order to make this decision to have the 20% savings, and I believe there's also a minimal shipping, if no shipping costs at all.
Does this include new editions as well then? New book editions? Like edition number 2, edition number 3, are we moving
No,
into
we're
a
still
new-
going with the same edition.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Public portion? No? Okay. Then I'll close that section. All right, we're moving into policy, and Mr. Silikowski has already informed the public for a few of those items. However, we did have a discussion about one of the last bylaw modification. Mr. Silikowski, you want to address that now?
Yes, okay, I will move policy. Basically, it's 16, right to the very end, but I would like to separate bylaws 0155, okay, board committees, for further discussion at the next policy meeting.
Are they all first readings,
Yes.
First readings, you don't need to vote.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
This one is a review and discuss. Okay. All right, so where are we at then with this one? We want to discuss that when, Mr. Solakowski?
At the next policy meeting, so we
Okay.
can clarify it over here at the next board meeting,
Yeah,
okay?
this was a
So
very...
basically, I'm going to move the entire policy, except for the last one.
Okay, I don't think we're voting on that tonight. No.
Are we
Okay.
administratively removing it? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Well, there's a difference between table and administratively removing, so I wanted to get clarification on the language. We want,
Right. What I'm hearing
Right.
is administratively removed.
yeah, so we're not tabling, we're just going to discuss this at a further date before we even include this to vote on. Right. Okay. All right, moving into curriculum. All right. I need someone on the board, please, to move curriculum, items 1, I don't know, I have to go through a few pages here, 1 through 25. Do I have a motion?
Hopman will make a motion to move curriculum
Okay.
1 through 25.
Thank you, Ms. Hopman, and Mr. Singh, would you second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Singh will second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like, this was discussed at the agenda meeting also. I would like the reiteration of why we need so many new courses to be written or reconstructed. And I believe Ms. Kibler answered that question, so maybe for the TV meeting, you could answer it again.
The reason there are so many courses to be rewritten, we have a very extensive elective program at the high school. There are numerous courses. During the term of our interim superintendent, all curriculum writing was halted. He stopped all curriculum writing. Therefore, we lost a year and a half, and it's been very difficult to recapture that year and a half as far as curriculum writing goes. So the time was now to place all these items on the agenda for board approval to begin writing our curriculum. We've been writing, sporadically, but certainly not to the degree that needed to be done here.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, roll call, Mr. Mara?
Hopman,
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Solakowski.
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motions 1 through 5 pass.
Thank you. Athletics, number 1, we need someone to move that.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Do I have a second?
Hopman will second.
Thank you, Ms. Hopman. Any discussion? Roll call, Mr. Mara?
Hopman,
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motion 1 passes.
Thank you. All right, we're in finance, and we need to move numbers 1 through 13. May I have a motion?
Mongan will move.
Ms. Mongan, second?
Second.
Mr. Singh, thank you very much. Any discussion?
Separation, please, for
Okay.
voting purposes. On the third bill list, purchase order 502127, Hynella Board of Education.
Okay. Can't find my bill list right now. Anyone else? So can we put it on to vote with that exception for voting purposes? Is that all right with you, Ms. Mongan?
That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Mara?
Mongan,
On everything with the exception of that purchase order, yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Solakowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Porcelli.
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
So, Mrs. Mongan, I take that your vote on the Hynella purchase order is no?
No, just separated. Are you, Ms. Mongan, are you voting no, or are you just not voting for that one because it's separate?
No on that
No. All right, thank you. Non-certificated personnel office, numbers 1 through 4.
Mongan will move.
Thank you, Ms. Mongan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. Discussion? Mr. Mara, roll call.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman.
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motions 1 through 4 pass.
Thank you. Okay. Non-certificated personnel, other, numbers 1 through 15.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Weber.
Hartman will second.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman. Moving right along. Any discussion? Mr. Mara, roll call.
Silikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman.
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motions 1 through 15 pass.
Thank you. Certificated personnel, and I know that we have a correction, administration correction. So it's numbers 1 through 14 with the administrative change of a date for 4N. I need a motion.
I'd like to move it and read item 1.
Okay, Mr. Weber?
After we
so
get a
move number
second.
1. Can I second first?
Yes.
I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Hartman.
Item 1, move the board approve the retirement of the following staff member with deep appreciation for his years of service to the district, and that is Thomas Knowles, Old Bridge High School special education teacher for 36 years. Thank you for your service.
My understanding is Mr. Knowles not only was a teacher, but was a coach and served in a variety of capacities throughout the school district. So, yes, I thank you for your service.
Most people would know. I don't know who Thomas Knowles is.
All right, so we're going with Rocky, not Thomas. Okay. Do I start singing now? Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Mara, roll call.
Weber,
Yes.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman.
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski.
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes,
Motions 1 through 14 as amended passes.
thank you.
Pass.
Non-certificated personnel, transportation. I think that's where I am. Yes? Yes. All right, numbers 1, 2, and 3.
Mongan will move.
Thank you, Ms. Mongan. Second? Mr. Singh will second. I saw that before I even said anything. Any discussion? Mr. Mara, roll call.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman,
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motions 1 through 3 pass.
Thank you. All right, we're on page 24, supplies, equipment, and services, number 1 and 2. I need a motion. May I move something?
Hartman will make a motion to move
Thank-
supplies, equipment, and services 1 and 2.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Borselli, any discussion? Mr. Mara, roll call.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman.
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motions 1 and 2 pass.
Thank you. Transportation, numbers 1 through 5.
Mongan will move.
Thank you, Ms. Mongan.
Second.
Mr. Weber, yes? Mr. Weber will second. Any discussion? Mr. Mara, roll call.
DePrima,
Yes.
Hopman,
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski,
Yes.
Weber, Porcelli,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes.
Motions 1 through 5 pass.
Thank you. Miscellaneous 1 through 5, I believe. 1 through 5. I need a
Hartman will
motion.
make a motion to move 1 through 5 under miscellaneous.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman.
Mongan will second.
Thank you, Ms. Mongan. Any discussion? Anybody's names missing? Okay, Mr. Mara, roll call.
Hopman,
Yes.
Mongan,
Yes.
Singh,
Yes.
Silikowski,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Porcelli,
Yes.
DePrima,
Yes.
Andriani.
Yes,
Motions 1 through 5 pass.
thank you very much. What, I'm on the last page? Any business, Mr. Mara? Please say no. Thank you. All right, hearing of residents for any district issue, either on or not on the agenda. My Hoboken's coming out agenda. Yes, I have yes, come forth and introduce thyself.
here. They're here.
My flamingos.
This is what I was alluding to earlier, for those of you who are still with us and the TV audience at home.
Hi, my name is Nora Schmitz. I am the Executive Director of the Alumni Path Foundation, and once a year we're doing our annual flamingo flocking to raise money for the cheerleaders of Old Bridge High School for their trip at the end of the season. You can reach us at alumnipathfoundation@gmail.com, or you can go to Facebook pages. What happens is the flamingos land, you order a flock of flamingos to land on somebody's front lawn, 24 hours. We come in, we put them down, we take them off. 24 hours, they're there, they fly in, they fly back out. If you have any questions, please contact the Alumni Path Foundation or reach out to any of the Old Bridge High School cheerleaders. Thank you.
Thank you for that public service announcement. I was the practice lawn. No, well, they don't leave any remnants like the Canadian geese, so we're okay. I was the practice lawn last year, so if you do reach out and you see you don't get 400 flamingos, whatever it is that you pay for that, what are they, in tens or dozens? They come by the dozen. I had about 20 dozen on my lawn last year, but it's all in good fun. Anyone else? Mr. Paulino?
Once again, just two items. Can you elaborate a little bit about, before I go off assuming the teachers are getting the short end of the stick somehow, can you elaborate about this copy paper shortage? Are we not supplying the basic needs for our teachers?
The copy paper is ordered at individual schools by the principal. So if the principal is not up to speed with ordering paper, they'll run out of paper. However, we do, if a particular school is missing paper, we can maneuver around to get them some paper to fill out short-term
So is this
needs.
the first time you're hearing the
It's
complaint?
the first time I'm hearing about it, and I haven't heard of the paper shortage in the district since I've been here, and that's almost 2 years.
Okay, so I'm assuming, so we are running through them fast enough. That won't be an issue going forward. Okay, great.
Paper is not a problem.
I'm just making sure that just raised an eyebrow real quick. We have money for
Paulino,
other stuff.
Just before you continue, because again, we're on TV and I don't think anyone heard Ms. Saladino in the back. No, that's okay. The question was about whether or not we had a paper shortage. Mr. Mara said that he has not heard that. We really don't have one, but the concern is that we are having some issues with a workbook that we are photocopying and using more paper, and then are afraid that we would run short in the future. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, that I didn't say that, but in piece to that, there have been paper issues in the past. There have, and I know, Mr. Mara, you're somewhat new, but there have been where buildings have had to purchase paper or get extra paper. So there, not that there's never been, but that's not the initial issue. The initial issue is that they don't have the book. They then have to do mass amounts of photocopying. But then the next piece of that, which Mr. Mara and I have discussed, is the copy machine that sometimes then slows that process. So it becomes one big piece of an issue or a concern.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. That's why I asked, just to clarify to make sure. The second one was, I mentioned before about teachers, parents, and students all talking to me about the technology infrastructure. And you mentioned, I believe, Mr. Citadino, that there was a problem with the city as far as the email goes. And I was wondering, have we done anything since, or what is in the works to alleviate some of the problems with the technologies, with basically getting out from the schools, even between schools?
I'm not sure if I heard the complete part of your conversation, but if the question was related to technology issues, some of the things we're doing or have done is we are putting a mechanism in place that we used to have in this district, but it was eliminated at some point, would be an alert system that if part of our system goes down from the internet and so forth, that the the integral people into correcting that problem are then alerted prior to coming to school, so that we can get the system up and running before school opens, because we want to make sure that the teachers in the classroom, the students, have the materials and the resources they need to be successful. We're also doing a technology assessment of having an external company come in doing a technology assessment of our infrastructure and our components to give us a better idea of a plan as to what needs to be looked at, what needs to be expanded upon, and what might need to be replaced. And we're using multiple facets to bring that in, so there's not just one view, but multiple views, so that we make sure we get an accurate picture. The third component is that we are increasing the communication abilities for all levels, so that everyone's on the same page and we have the information that we need. There was something else, and Mr. Merrick, think of anything? Okay, so that's
Thank
where
you.
we're at. If you're,
Appreciate
hey,
it.
listen, if you want to be a help in any ways, give me a call. See how we can use you.
You
Your
got it.
expertise.
Thanks.
Anyone else? I'm looking at the clock, and I'm not saying that that it's early. Okay, we'll close that portion of our meeting. Any old business? Any board member have any old business they'd like to revisit? Any new business at this time?
Yes, please.
Mr. DePrima?
Real quick, Mr. Cittadino, I don't know if this would be you, the athletic director, I'm not really sure who to address it to, but you know the way we have the Wall of Fame, the Sports Wall of Fame in the middle school building? Is there anything that could be done in the high school building? I believe somebody approached me. I think there's some athletes that have either gone on to bigger and better things in college or reached certain levels at high school that have been, I guess, I don't want to say forgotten about, but maybe not recognized properly. Just something to look into. Maybe we could replicate that wall in the high school on a different level.
Okay, I want to make sure that when we do that, and that it kind of serves the needs of all of our students and all their interests. And while the Athletic Hall of Fame is important and that should be maintained and looked at, we have Academic Hall of Fames that need to be adjusted, and Performing Arts Hall of Fames, and we have a Wall of Fame itself that represent people from business and academics have left our district and have gone on to achieve great things. So I think that's all important, but I want to make sure that we prioritize. That being said, can I add one thing, just to get my information out?
Yes. Make it short. You only have 3 minutes.
Okay, you got it. We use technology so often these days. Robert Bernovich, he's a vice principal at J.P. Stevens High School. He sent this information out to a member of our staff, and he said, "I've never seen a bigger crowd of supporters at a football game than the Old Bridge Pink Out. That was the most phenomenal show of support I've ever seen. Now our students at J.P. Stevens want to do something like that. That night was the loudest and most amazing team spirit I've ever seen." And, I think it reflects well on our school district, because it's not about just athletics that day. When the entire community comes out to support families that have been impacted by cancer, it goes beyond sport, and it goes beyond students, and it touches the whole community. So I'm very proud of the Old Bridge School District and every resident who made that night possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cittadino. At this time, we have the good of the order for the board members. Why don't we go in alphabetical order? Mr. Basili, would you like to go first today?
Sure. I'll just start with echoing the Pink Out comments. The Pink Out is always an amazing time. Myself, my family attended. It's just amazing to see all of the kids at all grade levels just flowing down the street, down to the football field, and it was a great night, as always. Just a few more things, and I'll try and be quick. I was able to attend the function where we welcomed our German exchange students, and I know that was, I had a great time meeting them. I know a lot of them have had a fabulous time here. I've spoken to a number of the families that are being the host families, and I know that was going quite well, and they had their hands full with quite a large number of events, taking them out to New York City and other places, and the kids were just having a great time. So that was just absolutely terrific. I'd like to congratulate our 2 PTAs on receiving their National PTA Schools of Excellence recognition. That was terrific achievement, and it's just a great way to make sure that, to ensure that, you know, our parents stay involved with our schools, because it does help the success of the schools and the success of our students. I'd like to thank Dr. Ferrara, Mr. Celentano, and Ms. Kibler. I was able to attend the PTA meetings I was at the one at Sauk earlier in the month, where they discussed the Common Core standards and the park assessments. And I know myself as a parent, you know, I have many, many questions on the park exams, and I don't know that there's any parents or even, I know even the educators have many, many questions. And they stated that as well. I mean, we're all still learning. We don't know that we've gotten all the information from the state yet. We're still continuing to get information. I think the message was very clear from them that we should not show any anxiety to our children, that we should just come across as we're all learning in this together. We're all in this together, and we'll do very well with it. So I thought it was a great presentation. I thought there was a lot of information, and I think it was well received by many of the parents, so thank you all. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman.
Yes, first I'd like to congratulate Tom Knowles, I know him as Rocky Knowles, for the 36 years that he dedicated to the school district, working with special education children and also coaching. He was a phenomenal teacher and an excellent coach, and you are certainly going to be very well missed. Also, I would like to congratulate Miller and Sauk School on bringing forward, okay, the educational program that they brought, along with the students and the PTAs. You know, the PTAs are phenomenal. They do so much for the school, and, you know, I can't thank them enough for it. And like I said, our staff, we have a wonderful staff in this school district, and I guess basically this shows that we definitely do. So, you know, I just want to congratulate all of them on all their efforts and everything they've done to accomplish what they have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman. Mr. Silikowski, you may not be alphabetical, but you're the next one in the row.
Okay. Yes, I echo Ms. Hoffman's words. I knew Mr. Knowles very, very well. I used to team teach with the teacher for, probably 10 years. Basically, he would come in with the special needs kids, and I would teach the classes, and he would work with me on that one. That was done in graphic arts and photography. We're going back now to the 80s and the early 90s. Good luck. You were an outstanding teacher, a great coach, and I wish you well. Good luck to all our new hirees. And I would like to thank all our teachers in our school district for a phenomenal job they're doing with our kids. And all you kids out there, Halloween's coming, be very, very careful, okay? Good luck to all. And Miss Adriani, I would like to thank you because they asked me to thank you at ShopRite for coming in for the, that's right, Partners in Caring. They actually took in $3,800 for the month of September. And Miss Adriani and I, we are retired. We went in and bagged one day on a Tuesday. I'd like to thank you, and so does ShopRite. Good night, all.
Mr. DePrima?
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate what everybody else is saying. Congratulations to those who received recognition tonight, and thank you for your service to those who are retiring. And as I've said a million times prior, I really love this job. There is just so much stuff going on lately, and it's all positive, and it's just a great, great environment lately. We had the homecoming dance last week, where I heard it went flawlessly, no problems whatsoever. I don't know who was involved with the meeting about the heroin epidemic. That was a very moving meeting. Was that taped, Mr. Cittadino? Because I saw the TV teacher there. I don't know if it was taped.
We've looked into taping it, but certain law enforcement, not local, but law enforcement entities did not want it taped.
Okay. But I'm sure it's going to be a topic of concern going forward. It was just very moving and very enlightening. Excuse me. And if you have an opportunity to see anything like it in the future, please do, because I guess the heroin epidemic knows no boundaries. As Mr. Basili said earlier, the car wash, since Thursday night I've been doing a lot of things, and they're all positive. The SAT scores, you know, everybody talks about test scores. They're in a positive light now, too. So great work, everybody. It's just a great time to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DePrima. Ms. Mongan?
Thank you. I have 3 comments, positive things. I'd like to thank Mr. Cittadino for the iPad survey. It was information on a very expensive, all-inclusive program for the district. And the only thing that sticks out, and I think you addressed this, was that the fact that the high school, only 4 teachers out of, and there are 3,000 students in both campuses. I wish there could have been more response, and I know you can't control that. It was open for every teacher to respond. But the information is very enlightening on how the iPad is being used, and the iPads are one tool. They're not a be-all and end-all. They're one tool, and so thank you for that. The test score report, it's very encouraging to see that we are making improvement and making progress, and I think that's a testament to the hard work of the teachers and the staff, and in working with the students and improving education in Old Bridge. And I'd also like to commend the policy committee members for administratively removing a policy on board committees, which was only up for first reading and is still in the discussion stage, but at the agenda meeting, it was discussed, and passage of the amendment as written would mean that committees could meet without advertisement, so that you wouldn't know, say, if a Buildings and Grounds or a Policy Committee or whatever committee, standing committee the board wanted to meet, they wouldn't have to advertise. It would give them the option to meet, to discuss things that might be sensitive or private or exploratory. Well, I think that the fact that Mr. Sulikowski advocated for many years and was finally implemented, taping meetings, so that they could be shown to members of the public that didn't have the opportunity to come to a committee meeting and hear the discussion and see the process that goes through and the questions that are raised. The board does have the facility to go into closed session for specific reasons: client-attorney privilege, matters of personnel, matters of negotiation. Anything else should be public knowledge, the public should be there and part of that process and know what's going on, and that's a transparent district. And I'm glad that this policy was taken off for first reading, and it will be further reviewed and discussed and/or amended, and I commend the committee for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mongan. Mr. Singh?
I want to thank everybody coming here tonight to be a part of this discussion. Usually we just see the empty chairs. And it makes a big difference. When you are there, we hear very positive things from this side. I want to congratulate all the people who got recognized tonight. Thank you very much.
It's great to see the test scores trending up. That bodes well for the future of the district, and I'm sure it will continue. I'd like to congratulate both Salk and Sandberg, the staffs, the administration, and the PTAs on a great effort. And I'm sure that Mr. Knowles Rocky will be coaching in his retirement. I just don't see that man retiring from coaching. The other thing is, I would encourage everybody to come out for the school board election on November 4th. The interesting thing is, since we switched from the April format, we are getting a lot more people out, but not nearly enough. The last election in April of 2011, which is our last one, we only had 9% of the registered voters came out. This November 13th of 2013, we had about 8,000, which is significant. It went over 20%. I'd like to see it at 30 or 40%. So whatever your choices are your choices, but just do come out and vote.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. I guess I'm last here. First, again, I apologize, we started a few minutes late. We were having a superintendent's evaluation. That process is now completed. Mr. Cittadino has been given a copy of our summary of our report, our compilation. Before we meet again, we do go through Halloween, as somebody mentioned, and we want everybody to have a very safe holiday, if that's what you want to call it. We will have board elections prior to our next meeting, and to reiterate, Mr. Weber, regardless of who you're voting for, it would be nice to see a larger turnout come out to vote. That's the first Tuesday in November. We also will be turning our clocks back before we meet again. I just thought we should mention that. I guess that's not something Mr. Prima likes, but, spring ahead, fall back, so we are turning back the clock. So you get an extra hour of sleep in there, but it does get a little darker a little earlier. Great things are happening in Old Bridge. There are so many positive things that are happening. It's great to be included. One of the things that seemed to come up several times over the last 2 weeks is the topic of nutrition. It came up at some parent meetings, it came up at some PTSA meetings, it came up in Mr. DePrima's meeting. There are a lot of parents out there that are concerned with the new variety of school lunches, and just so that you understand, it is federally mandated, not what they eat, but the guidelines of which the choices are available. As the parents seem to be discussing this with each other, they're not getting the correct information from each other because they're venting to each other. I suggest strongly that you reach out to the cafeteria people, which is Sodexo, and Michelle Feliciano, who is I guess she's the director or manager. She's stationed up at the high school, and she has already said that she would make herself available to anybody that really has any prudent questions. And she will certainly try and help you understand the process of the new guidelines. Okay? With that, congratulations to anybody that's retired, to our recognition. And I guess that's it. Mr. DePrima, would you like to make a motion for closed session? No. There is no closed session. And so with that, I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Weber's on the, so moved. I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Mongan, second. Roll call, Mr. Mara.
Porcelli?
Yes.
Prima?
Yes.
Hopman?
Yes.
Mongan?
Yes.
Singh?
Yes.
Silikowski?
Yes.
Weber? Andriani?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.